Jagex added a secret combat buff last year that most players have completely missed. In fact, on the day this boost was put into the game, Jagex didn't even mention it in the blog post. That's how uncommon it was. The idea here is that this combat update will make everything you do better. At max efficiency, you can get up to 250,000 experience per hour on your medium level account. Best part is that you can implement this into your normal routine, whether you enjoy AFKing at gemstone grab, doing pest control, soul wars, scurriers, layer training, whatever method you use, you can just add this in as a bonus. I'm talking about intelligence gathering in Seiya. Back in 2024, Jagex removed current favor, and in doing so, they added a 25% bonus experience rate to gathering intelligence. They also made it so no matter what world you go to, the location of the enemies stay the same. That means you have a 5-minute window to jump through every world in a single location and gather as much intelligence as possible. And then once it's done, you go turn that in for some incredibly juicy and yummy experience. Just look at this. It's absolutely amazing and I love it. This training method on its own is okay at best, but when you combine it together with different methods, it becomes one of the best in the game. So I went to test it out. The first way I used this method was simple. In total, I did 50 minutes of gemstone grabbing and AFK training, and then 10 minutes of active training with intelligence gathering. By the end of the hour, I got over 150,000 strength experience doing this method, and I also got some nice loot, but we'll talk about that later on and why it's so important for Ironman accounts specifically. Then I tried it again, but this time only active training methods, so I went with pest control, because out of all the active combat methods in the game, I enjoy this the most. If you don't know, spending 100 pest control points gives you extra 10% experience boost. On top of that, completing combat achievement tiers adds extra pest control points every time you win a game. So if I'm training strength, I get experience while I'm attacking monsters inside the minigame. I also get experience when I'm spending points at the pest control shop, and I get experience when I'm trading in intelligence. Combining all of this together, you can easily get 225,000 experience in 1 hour, which is honestly kinda insane for a medium level account. And then for my next method, I decided to include my main account into the equation. I can use my main account to jump one world ahead and already lure all the NPCs nearby to get them all clumped up. So when my Ironman account comes in, I can just start blasting them immediately and don't have to set up the world. Also, if you don't know, it takes 10 seconds to world hop if you're just being in combat. But if you do everything correctly and your main account tanks all the enemies, that means you can avoid the 10-second penalty on your secondary account. That allows you to get a couple of extra intelligence per run because you can world hop much faster and you get better setups. This boosted my experience to 245,000 per hour. But honestly, I didn't like this method. It's too sweaty and a lot of extra effort for not that big of a reward. It requires you to have 2 accounts, which many people don't. So the easiest and most convenient way is to just look at this method sort of like doing a herb run or doing a birdhouse run. Just an activity you can do once every 30 minutes if you want some extra experience and loot. So, how does it work? Well, first of all, the only requirement is having Book of the Dead, or if you haven't done Kingdom Divided, then Gatherist Memoirs. It just allows you to teleport around Seiya much quicker and get to your desired locations as fast as possible. Also, I would recommend having 43 prayer to get out of some sticky situations, because the boss does have a max hit of 13. Having protection prayers just makes the entire activity much smoother. Secondly, at least one of your accounts needs to come here at Shazian Combat Headquarters to see where the next location is. You don't have to memorize it, there is a plugin called Shazian Organized Crime that saves your location on the sidebar. I like to scout out the location with my main account, so while I wait here for the next encounter, my baby Ironman can still continue to train and only show up for the actual fight. Once 30 minutes is up, I teleport there with my account, and one thing I noticed while doing this is people using cannons. You can use it if you want, it's fine and it does its job, but there are much better AoE damage options out there. The problem I found with cannon is setting it up, then taking it down and doing that all over again every time I hop worlds. It does waste a lot of valuable time, but it is very powerful once you get going. I used rare chinchompas on my Ironman. They're fairly easy to get on any account, and every single location for this activity is in multi-zone, so it works really well as a cheap setup. Once I've done most of the damage with the red chinchompas, I just use Dragon Scimitar to clean up the last NPCs before I hop worlds. Of course, if you have a normal account and you have the money, you can use something like Venator Bow. If you have something like Din's Bulwark that does AoE special attack damage, that's also an option. I've seen a couple of people even use Dragon Crossbow because the special attack hits 9 enemies in a 3x3 area. Basically, any AoE damage is best here. Keep in mind, you are sharing this activity with other players, but luckily Jagex did just recently add 27 new worlds into the game, which means 27 new locations, and that helps a lot finding empty worlds. I would recommend choosing less popular worlds, and it's better to just find empty worlds than fight with other players over these NPCs. I like to use the world's 600 to 609 East Coast servers. They're always empty and it fits with my time zone. Sometimes you get less gang members in a world. There is a big variance here. Some worlds give you 4 NPCs, other worlds give you up to 10 NPCs. It just depends on your luck, but it will balance itself out over time. I like to use Full Void. It's simple, easy to swap around, and it has good DPS. It also works perfectly for a mid-game account. Oftentimes you lose a lot of accuracy with Full Void, but if you're fighting against opponents with no defensive stats, Void is a really good option to have. But honestly, any best gear you have will do. These guys have basically 0 defense, so just bring the best you have, whether it's ranged, melee, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the run, when the NPCs start to disappear, I also quickly hop to World 302 to get another set in, because that's where the last gang disappears, usually due to world population. For some reason, the more players there are in a single world, the later the NPCs disappear. So if you want to squeeze a little bit extra out, go to World 302 at the very end to get a little bit more intelligence. And that's it, just jump through worlds, clean them up as fast as possible, and after 5 minutes you should have an entire inventory of intelligence. Go turn them in and you should get on average about 40 to 50,000 experience for 5 minutes of playtime. The experience does scale up quite nicely. For example, at level 67 you get about 2000 experience per 1 training manual. At level 96 you get about 3000 experience per manual. So if you're looking at an average of 2.5k per 1 manual and you get roughly about 20 of them for 5 minutes of combat, that's 50,000 experience, which is very nice. And guess what? You can do this twice per hour. So after I use all my training manuals, I send my account back to Gemstone Crab for that sweet AFK and continue this every half an hour. Oh, and also, since I'm using Jins to clean up the NPCs, I end up with extra 15,000 ranged experience per hour as well, which is a nice added benefit in this scenario. And the reason I wanted to quickly go over loot, especially for Ironman, is because for some unknown reason, these NPCs absolutely dump out planks for construction. Like, look at this, I did this method for 1 single day and I ended up with almost 1.5 million GP in planks alone. That's gonna be so good for construction training, and it's almost like a 0-time method. You don't have to cut the logs, go to the sawmill, spend money on planks, you just get them naturally by training your combat. Also, I've seen a lot of players go to Samarok Warriors at the CMI altar for their first rune scimitar on their baby Ironman accounts, and I say, come here. I usually get about 2 to 3 rune scimitars per 1 trip, and worst case scenario, you get a couple of alcohols. Also, I ended up getting over 3000 cosmic runes in 1 day, which was kinda nice on top of everything else. Now, like I said at the beginning, this method can just be implemented into any combat training you already do. Maybe you're training Slayer and want some extra combat experience between your tasks. Maybe you're doing Scurriers or Sulfur Naguas or Crabs or Soul Wars, or like I did, Pest Control. This can fit into almost anything because it takes up very little of your time compared to the experience you get. Oh, and one more thing, when the 5-minute timer is about to hit in which all of them despawn, make sure you at least damage them once before they do, because then they are guaranteed to give you a drop. If they despawn without taking any damage, they just disappear and you don't get any drops at all. At the end, I did this method for an entire Saturday and I ended up getting 1.2 million strength experience along with everything else, which I think is honestly very good considering how easy this was. As always, if you found this helpful, consider helping me out and subscribing so you don't miss out on the next awesome guide. But that's it from me, and I'll see you all in a few days with another video. Bye!